Hello and welcome back to another video. It's Sweep Union and I'm back with another update on the Bakhmut front. So starting out, we see that the Russian forces continuously attack on the whole front line without any rest. In the southwestern parts of the city, they are continuously attacking the high-rise areas as they try to expand their zone of control here and take control over the intersection to prevent any supplies coming in and out from the southwest of the city. The current supply line from the southwest either goes in the direction of the road here to the west of the city or going through these smaller roads here to the west as they try to avoid the front line and reach the citadel area from this direction, which is why we are seeing a lot of Wagner forces pushing through by the center and try to push westwards south of the citadel area to completely cut off this supply line. With that, they could also go around and advance in this open field here to the south, where they will be able to get fire control over this road here, which would cut that off as well. The alternative is here to the north, where there are three different areas where the Ukrainian forces are defending. So we see first here there's the Olympic school here to the north, and then there's the post office right here. Then we have this defensive line, which goes through this western part here. This is the defensive line as it is a straight line with concentrated buildings. So the Russian forces would have a hard time breaking through it. Then we have the Bakhmut's Children's Hospital, as well as these residential areas. So essentially what we are seeing is that the Russian forces are trying to push towards the Children's Hospital. And at the same time, there's heavy fighting occurring by the post office, as well as the Olympic school area. And the Russian forces are trying to level the front line by this road here, which would allow them to go around the Olympic school and post office and cut them off. So the Russian forces are currently trying to penetrate to the south of the defensive line, and at the same time they're trying to level the front line to match the defensive line and cut off the Ukrainian defensive positions to the northwest of the city. So here we have the latest stand from Bakhmut according to Remy. The epicenter of the fighting in Bakhmut is currently in the northwest. After several attempted counterattacks by UA were fended off, Wagner managed to advance right up to the post office, which is right here. So they have reached the front line by the post office. Very intense and heavy battles are taking place here now. The same applies to the Olympic school area. East of these areas, Wagner managed to break through UA's defenses and advance further. Wagner is now trying to align the front line along Larissa Shepitko Street. Sometimes they are successful along the Peremogi Street. Wagner managed to advance even further than reach UA's last line of defense. So we have the Peremogi Street. So according to Remy, the Russian forces actually managed to reach the defensive line here on this part of the street. So this part would be under Russian control all the way here to the defensive line. Then we have the Larissa Shepitko Street, which is this one down here. So the Russian forces are trying to capture this part right here, as well as this part right here, as they try to advance and reach the front line here. And at the same time, they've broken through and reached the Ukrainian defensive line here. Also, this update was confirmed by Syriac Maps. So Remy is confirming a bit further advanced here to the west, but other than that, it is the same. I personally think that Wagner will soon be able to break the last line and UA will face great difficulties. That is because if this last line has been broken, then the Russian forces are now close enough to completely attack the Bakhmut Children's Hospital and at the same time completely cut off all supplies going in and out of the citadel area from the west. At the same time, they have fire control over the supply areas here to the southwest, which would mean a operational and complete encirclement over the citadel area. So essentially, this last line of defense for the Ukrainians to the northwest is going to determine whether or not the citadel area gets encircled. The Children's Hospital area and the citadel area, high-rise buildings, are covered very heavily by artillery. UA can hardly go outside or they will be directly hit. So essentially the fighting is happening between the soldiers on the front line while the Russian forces are suppressing all of the Ukrainian fighters by the high-rise buildings as well as by the Children's Hospital area. So the Russian forces are heavily shelling these areas, which kind of goes against the narrative that Wagner's running out of artillery shells, according to Prigozhin, which is the head of the Wagner PMC. He says that every day they're running low on ammunition and they're taking heavier casualties because of that. However, I will take that with a grain of salt, as there's no indication that they do suffer a lack of artillery shells. As according to Remy, there's heavy shelling, and Remy as well goes against the idea that Prigozhin is running low on artillery shells. To the south, in the area where Wagner crossed Ceausescu Street, Wagner also managed to capture 4 more houses on the other side. The process of encircling the high-rise buildings is in full swing. Wagner goes forward. So this is this area right here. So they captured 4 more houses. That isn't very clear exactly where, what, and how. But essentially they are pushing ever so slightly forward as they attempt to advance and cut off the whole area. If they capture this area here, they would completely cut off the roads to the south of the citadel area. Also, a little more to the supply issues. So the Vice Minister of Defense, or the Deputy Minister of Defense of the Russian forces, Russian Ministry of Defense, was recently fired. He was the butcher of Mariupol, or whatever they called him. So he was in charge of logistics, and then he was fired. So people are building the idea that he was fired because he was in charge of logistics. So he's probably responsible for Wagner lacking ammunition shells. However, according to Remy, Mikhail Misintsev, who was the Deputy Minister of Defense and was in charge of logistics, the post of first deputy commander of the Wagner PMC. A few days ago, Misintsev was removed from post deputy Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation. He previously headed the National Defense Control Center. So the guy who was in charge of logistics, who allegedly gave the Wagnerians less ammunition that they needed, got a job offer as vice commander of Wagner PMC. You see how that doesn't make sense. If Wagnerians dying because of the lack of ammunition, why would he get a job offer for Wagner as a commander, the second highest post in the organization? So essentially, he's showing that it's bullshit. That this is just made up for the point of making the Ukrainians believe that they have less ammunition than they actually have, so that they launch counteroffensives, and that even though they're prepared for it, they act like they aren't prepared for it. It's classic information warfare. And that is going to be it for this update. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.